Hello everybody, welcome to Sweetcast. I'm doing a kitchen table video because I want to talk about Daredevil. I got this omnibus a while ago and it's been one of those books that's been fun to read, but I keep skipping and back and forth reading crowdfunded books in between issues. In here, I'm practically done. I'm in the resurrection part at the very last. Still having fun. I'm going to finish reading it. But what I wanted to talk about is character introductions, introducing a new character, because in this issue, essentially in this run, and specifically in this issue, Elektra is a new character. And so she's introduced to the world, and has become a character that is still in Daredevil now. Not only that, Elektra is one of the characters that you'd think of when you think of a strong female lead, so to speak. And so I have not read this Chip Zdarsky one. Obviously, it's still in plastic, just arrived. But I wanted to compare and sort of contrast Daredevil, Frank Miller's run, Daredevil to today, most current run. And I heard that this is pretty good. So I'm interested to compare it. Anyway, so we're going to get into this, what makes a good character introduction, a character you care about. I hear so many people say, I just don't care about this character. That's not good. So let's see what we can learn from this. Before we get into the video, though, check out Downcast. You can get this on alternateaccess.com for $1.99 or $2.25 respectively, depending on which cover you want to get. Or you can go to sweetcomicshop.com, buy this for $5 with my signature on it, or you can even get this and I'll draw a head sketch on it for you if you like. So thank you so much for your support. All right, so Daredevil, this is Daredevil number 168. This is Marvel Comics, obviously, introduction of Elektra. What you have here at the beginning is something I think people use as the blueprint for how new strong female characters should be introduced. The problem is they're missing the most important aspect of this. So here we go. Elektra's being introduced. She is hiding in the shadows up above on a rope. She clearly knows what she's doing. Love this panel at the top. She beats up Daredevil, shows how strong she is. So essentially, again, show don't tell. Right here, we're being shown that Elektra is a very strong, formidable character in this universe, and so much so that she could take Daredevil by surprise and also beat him up because of it. Now, this is what you'd see in, for example, like The Mandalorian, when Cara Dune shows up and beats up the Mandalorian. You've seen this. I mean, how many times have you seen it? New female character, she is strong enough to beat up the leading character that you've spent years, in some cases, falling in love with and being along their side. But this is the part that they're missing. This is what makes this such a great issue and Elektra such a memorable character, or at least one of the main things. So you actually go back to what, generally speaking, is one of the more boring kinds of scenes, and that's a flashback to Daredevil in college, Matt Murdock in college with Foggy Nelson. Okay, and during this time, you are actually introduced to Elektra, that she existed before in Matt Murdock's life and how different she is now. You're getting some mystery and some intrigue, but what you're also getting is a vulnerable Elektra. Before she's doing this, she is a vulnerable person. So vulnerable that it's up to Matt Murdock to save her from goons in the old classic head wrap. I love all this stuff. It's great. But what's so important about this is, one, the main character cares about Elektra. That's one tool that Frank Miller used for you to care about Elektra. Whenever a main character cares about a different character, you immediately you care a little bit, and that's because you already know and trust Daredevil. So for Matt Murdock to fall in love with Elektra, you automatically have at least that point of defense down. All right, so 2, remember, Matt Murdock, the reason why superheroes do so well, especially from Stan Lee creations, is because they were extremely flawed. They started out as very vulnerable people. In the case of Daredevil, even after he began to get his powers, I mean, he was bullied, he was made fun of by other kids. Even just the process of him, he worked so hard to go through college, to go through law school, and to become the Daredevil that we know today. He worked so hard to get there. And so for a new character to be introduced that can just kick his butt, again, that in and of itself is not enough. This is startling. So you want some justification for how Elektra can do this. So you go back, Elektra's a different person. She's extremely vulnerable. They fall in love. There's some, great action stuff. Daredevil is still the hero here. But in this case, there's tragedy. Just like, the best Marvel superheroes, the tragedy involved is what takes us, what makes us care about these characters. And so, Elektra is in on the fight. She's tied up to a chair. Daredevil comes in to save the day, and she assists. She's kicking. She's helping. She's not the kind of girl to just go sitting down. But at the same time, she's still extremely vulnerable. And it goes on to show why she's so vulnerable and some of the tragedy of her past life. Now, this has another element here, right? There's also the mystery of how did Elektra go from, when we first saw her, assassin, ninja, how did she get there from first being extremely vulnerable, college girlfriend, maybe rich girl? All of this has a lot of intrigue. This is such a great introduction for Elektra, and it's one of the reasons why people were willing to follow along and see what her story was. So next issue, I want to show you that sort of completes at least this initial story arc. The very famous issue, number 181 of Daredevil, and it's just a great issue from beginning to end. It's fantastic. But by this point, you've read enough about Elektra. There has been time spent. Remember how many pages Frank Miller spent going over Matt Murdock in college at law school, which is typically, again, at least for me, generally not the most interesting part of Daredevil life and experience and reading comics. But he did such a good job of establishing backstory and then also carrying that story forward with Elektra, giving her great moments here and there and building up toward her story arc. And so in this issue, you have a ton of action. It's just packed with action. Bullseye's in it. And essentially you have Elektra. I don't want to spoil anything too much. I guess we will, though, anyway. But by the end of the issue, Elektra is killed. And for this to have impact on you, now let's think about this for a moment, okay? Put it in the context of most films and comics that you see today with new characters. Do they even go? Do they even get killed? Do they go through the hardship like this? Part of this was to punish Matt Murdock, for sure. But by the time this happened, you're upset. You're concerned because Elektra has become such a great character. She deserves her place in the story. She wasn't given it. She earned it, and the writer earned it for her. So she dies, obviously. That's part of it, and that leads into the next issue. And again, this only adds to, again, you want to know more about Elektra, the sort of the mystery about her, to how did she become so amazing? You still are attracted to superheroes for a reason. They're able to do amazing things that you can't do. There's the power fantasy, but 3, there's also the extreme vulnerability. And that's what makes those feats of strength and all the superpower stuff so amazing, is because of the vulnerabilities. So I believe those are the 3 key components to making a new character that people care about, especially if you have a series that people are already interested in. That's sort of what it takes. At least this is one way. This is how Frank Miller did it. So let me know what you think in the comments below. I'd love to know. Don't forget to check out Downcast and also Indiegogo. Fatal, we've already passed 93,000. We're climbing. So it's been great. Check us out there. We're still producing. Charlie's working on pages. He's doing a fantastic job as always. And I'll see you in the next video.